So here's exactly why you can't focus and how you're going to fix it in the next 7 days. I'm not going to waste any of your time. Let's get right into it. First, there's a bit of a disclaimer. Yes, I am selling a digital product that will be promoted within this video. And yes, everything that I speak about is going to be based on personal results, realizations, and experiences that I've had over the course of my journey. And this is going to be the most valuable thing that you've ever watched. So I suggest you pull out a pen, a sheet of paper, take notes. This is going to change your life. And no, I don't just want your money. I just happen to enjoy talking about focus. And now that all the boring stuff is out of the way, let's get right into it. Pro tip, watch this on double speed if you want to save time. Now, understand that this is not just another productivity hack, right? So if you're somebody who's stuck in scroll loops and you can't stay consistent, well, I made this video for you. Within, I'm going to be breaking down exactly why discipline hasn't worked and the exact thing that will work for you. And this video is a full guide. It's not fluff. It's not one of those, oh, here's those how-to videos that you see on YouTube all the time that don't really say anything but waste your time for the next 20 minutes. Right? This is an actual guide that is going to be actionable. It's going to be practical, and it's going to help you achieve your goals. Now, you're going to leave with clarity, action steps, and a decision. And stick around. I'll also walk you through a proven system that's worked for creators, students, and entrepreneurs. Now, here's exactly why you're addicted to dopamine, right? Addicted to distraction, even when you don't want to, even when you hate it. So first, you need to understand that your brain is being hijacked from this hyper-stimulating content, right? All the scrolling that you do, the YouTube, the video games, right? It's actually hijacking your brain's dopamine. It's spiking your dopamine, right? Which ends up giving you hits of reward without the effort, right? And your brain is adapting to that. Once you realize, wait a second, I can get this spike of dopamine, I can get this pleasure, I can get this fulfillment without doing anything. Wow, I'm going to keep doing that thing, right? Because we as humans, we naturally take that path of least resistance. You scrolling, doing all of these bad habits, it's you taking that path of least resistance, right? And ultimately, this kills your ability to stay focused, sit still, or stay present. And when you can't sit still for more than 8 seconds, when your attention span is lower than that of a goldfish, there is no way that you're going to accomplish anything. There's no way that you're going to be able to stay consistent, get the progress that you need, hit the metrics, check the boxes that you need to in order to achieve your goals. It's simply not going to happen. But understand, it's not that you're broken. It's not that you just can't do it. You're simply overstimulated. And the first step to solving overstimulation is to stop blaming motivation and start managing your inputs, right? But understand that, again, there's a process that does all take place, and we need to also realize what exactly this loop is that is stealing your time. What is this loop that is causing you to get addicted to this dopamine, to these distractions? And as you can see here, the loop is trigger, right? It starts with a trigger. Something triggers you, whether it's boredom, maybe you're stressed, maybe you're overwhelmed, which causes you to scroll. Your mind wants to escape whatever that state of mind is, which causes you to scroll, and that ultimately ends up spiking your dopamine, right? It'll shoot it up here, but ultimately that dopamine is not going to stay there. It's going to crash, which will make you guilty, causing the cycle to repeat itself, right? Because once you're guilty, that guilt is another trigger, which will cause you to scroll again. Now you're stuck in an infinite negative feedback loop that is not going to end until you do something about it, right? Again, this becomes a hardwired feedback loop. It becomes implanted within your brain, making it very difficult, nearly impossible to escape and actually get things done. And realize that each scroll is going to strengthen that habit and weaken the focus muscle, right? It's like muscle atrophy, right? If you don't use your muscle, well, you're just going to lose it over time. If you don't focus, if you can't focus, you lose that ability to focus over time. And inversely, you're increasing your distraction muscle. You're increasing your non-focused muscle, right? The more you scroll, the more you get addicted to dopamine. That muscle is getting stronger, making it easier for you to get distracted, not focus in the future. And the longer this loop runs, the harder execution feels, because again, your focus muscle gets weaker, the distraction muscle gets stronger. But breaking that loop, right? This is the foundation of all lasting discipline. Once that loop is gone, once you're not controlled by distractions, once you actually have the ability to focus, that's when you can build genuine discipline. Not the 75 hard, I'm gonna lock in, and then you get burnt out. Not the today's the day, this year's the year I finally do it, and then you're burnt out, right? It's something that's actually going to last, and something that's actually going to get you to where you want to be in life. But understand that getting there is not going to take willpower, because willpower is inefficient, right? Willpower is kind of like a battery. It's going to drain fast, when fighting that simulation, right? Because okay, you might tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to scroll. You might win once, you might win twice, but eventually that willpower is gone. And once it is, well, so is your discipline, so is your focus, right? You probably told yourself that, oh, I'm gonna lock in, right? Today's the day I lock in. I'm gonna get things done. But how long does that last? An hour, 2 hours? Maybe you go the entire day if you're lucky. But what about the week? What about the month? What about the year? What about the things that compound to you becoming the person that you want to be and achieving the goals that you want to achieve, right? It's not going to work. It's because you're trying to fight a system with sheer force. It's like you're trying to push a bulldozer by yourself, right? You're not gonna win. You're like Sisyphus, right? But if he was like 2 inches tall, trying to push the boulder up the hill, you would just get crushed and lose, right? So instead of forcing discipline, you simply need to remove the friction. Or in the analogy I just gave you, instead of pushing the boulder up the hill, you just roll it down. Instead of trying to push the bulldozer with full force, you break the bulldozer into tiny little blocks and move the blocks away, right? That was a bad explanation. You actually hop in the bulldozer and drive it down instead of trying to push it, right? That one made a bit more sense, right? And essentially, the goal is to make the right action easier than making the wrong one. And ultimately, that is what I ended up doing myself, right? Here's my story, right? I went from 4-hour daily scroll sessions. I'd be scrolling 4, 5, 6 hours a day. There were days I'd be on the video game up to like 8 in the morning, right? It was impossible for me to focus. I literally could not get anything done. I went from that kind of person to being able to finish projects ahead of schedule, batch my content ahead of schedule. I actually started to cut my screen time in half. The first week I applied this method, right? My screen time went down and I was able to double my creative output while attending college full time, right? And even as you can see here, right, I was able to make my first $1,000 on the internet. I was able to grow my Instagram following from 200 to even 60,000 followers in the scale of around 5 months, and the same with my YouTube channel, right? And I did it all without quitting social media, without going on some dopamine detox, without a 75 hard. I simply did it by rewiring my focus loop. And so that leads me to the exact method that I did use to accomplish that, the Focus OS framework. And this is a 7-step framework that is going to walk you through exactly how you're going to achieve this focus that you are seeking. So, firstly, here's the first step, is that you need to understand the focus switch, right? Understand that we need to flip the switch back to your focus. So first, you need to identify the one dominant distraction loop, whether, you get anxious, you get bored, you pick up your phone, you start scrolling, or maybe you go to junk food, maybe you open YouTube and watch some 2-hour YouTube deep dive about some triggering that distraction loop. You need to identify what that is. You need to identify the trigger. You need to identify what you do after the trigger and the reward that your brain gets. So the trigger, you get bored. Okay, the action is I pick up my phone. What happens is I start to laugh. Dopamine is spiking. I feel like I'm having a good time. You need to figure what exactly that is. Right now, next is you need to insert a high agency swap at that action point. Okay, so you get bored, right? But high agency is you just fail to that boredom. You fall to that boredom. Like, oh, I'm bored. I'm going to pick up my phone. I'm going to start scrolling. That's a low agency person. That is a low agency action. A high agency person is, oh, I'm bored. I'm actually going to sit here in this boredom. I'm just gonna let it flow. I'm gonna let the boredom enter, and I'm gonna get so bored that my work is gonna seem fun, and I'm gonna start working. That is a a high agency swap. Or maybe you get bored. Okay, I'm gonna stimulate my mind by doing some reading. Oh, I'm bored. I'm gonna go out in nature, let my mind process things a little bit, so when I get back to start working, I'm more focused. Right? That is a high agency action. Right? And then you want to add friction to that original trigger, right? Because just making that high agency action isn't going to last very long, right? Because then you're relying on willpower. But once you add friction to that distraction, once you make it impossible to get distracted, then you won't get distracted. As an example, right? If you're constantly getting distracted by your phone, a very easy step of friction is to just remove it from your room, remove it from the place rather that you are trying to focus in. And then you're going to think, I have to get up, I have to go all the way over there, and you're just not going to want to grab it. And then ultimately this awareness is what turns to immediate control. Now you have control over this input, right? Now you have control over this loop, and you can turn it into the direction that actually leads you to where you want to get in life. Secondly, is you need to follow the dopamine reset protocol. right? You need to lower these passive dopamine spikes and raise earned dopamine. What is a passive dopamine spike? Well, okay, you turn on your phone, you scroll. It's basically you're doing nothing, but you're getting a reward from it. Okay, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit back, have my popcorn, I'm watching YouTube. Wow, Netflix, haha, anime, funny, right? You're doing nothing, but you're getting a reward. You want to lower the amount of passive dopamine you get and raise the earned dopamine. What is earned dopamine? You get a workout in, dopamine spikes, you actually did something. You got a focused work session in, you did something, right? You were able to, you did some studying, you passed your test, right? That's earned dopamine. You actually had to work, you actually had to put in effort to achieve something, and that feels a lot better anyway, because you're able to reflect on that experience, you're able to grow, and you're able to feel like a genuine connection to the victory that you just achieved. Whereas, okay, I swiped 3 times and now I'm feeling good, right? And you want to input curfews both in the morning and in the nighttime, right? So no phone first hour in the morning, same with at nighttime, no phone an hour before you sleep, right? And don't get distracted, don't let that distraction enter your space an hour before you go to sleep and an hour after you wake up, right? Or an hour after your morning. And then you want to swap rituals, right? You can switch from taking a walk, maybe you want to journal for a little bit, maybe a learning sprint, or maybe you just want to sit in silence and just think, right? Whatever it is, you want to swap the ritual, swap the action that you take just to keep things novel, keep the dopamine cycle spinning around, right? That way you don't get bored of the thing and end up going back to scrolling again, right? And then you want to also implement a daily 60-minute low stimulation window. What am I talking about? What the heck is Lim talking about? What does he mean when he says that? Well, 60-minute low stimulation window is, as the name implies, a 60-minute block where you are not getting stimulated. That means no phone, no YouTube, no games, no junk food, no Netflix. It's just you and your mind, right? Maybe you're just sitting in silence. Again, doing these habits up here. Maybe you're taking a 1-hour walk. Maybe you're doing all 3 of these things within that 1-hour period. It doesn't matter. You just don't want to stimulate your brain with mindless dopamine. And essentially, this is going to stable your dopamine baseline and bring your clarity back. Because, again, when you're constantly getting distracted, you're spiking your dopamine up here. And the higher, you spike your dopamine, your baseline actually ends up getting higher itself. But the problem with that is the work that you want to do, it's actually lower than that baseline, which is why you don't do it. And you instead opt to keep getting distracted by things that don't get you anywhere. By implementing this daily 60-minute stimulation, of low stimulation rather, this window where you're not getting stimulated, by doing this day in and day out, you're gradually dropping that dopamine to the point where it's actually below your work. That way, when it is time to work, you simply get up and do the work because you find it to be fun, right? But in order to do that, you have to train yourself. You have to embrace things. For example, you have to embrace the anti-vision, right? In order to accomplish this, you're going to need more than just a goal. It's like, yeah, guys, you just I'm gonna do it, right? I gotta believe in myself, right? Everybody just says dream big, but ultimately, dream big isn't really enough, because think about it. Everybody is told the same thing. Just dream big, write it on the vision board. If you believe it, you can achieve it. But why is it that all these people who have big goals aren't able to accomplish those big goals? Well, it's because they're missing the anti-vision, right? What is an anti-vision? This is the version of you that you refuse to become. This is the version of you that's always distracted, that has nothing going for them. They have, no purpose, no goals, no focus, no discipline, right? They just laze around. They wake up at 6 o'clock in the evening, right? They scroll on their phone. They're playing video games from sun down to sun up, right? A type of person who ultimately isn't going anywhere and isn't achieving anything, right? That's the person that you don't want to become, right? And you want to make this thing visible. You want to be able to see it. You want to be able to turn around. You want to be able to look left and look right and see the version of you that you become if you don't defeat your distractions, the version of you that you become if you don't achieve focus. And you want to read it daily to trigger that sense of urgency. You need to understand that every time you get caught in the scroll loop, every time your mind strays from the task at hand, you are taking a step to becoming that person. Because each action is a vote. It's either the old self versus the new self, the self that I don't want to become versus the person that I do, the absolute worst version of myself versus the peak version of myself that I'm trying to step into. Because fear fuels disciplined action. The reason this is so effective is, I'm not sure if you heard of this, but there was a study that scientists did on rats, right? Where they took a rat, they put it in a cage, and these rats were very hungry, right? I think they nearly starved the rats, right? They took the rat, they put the cheese in the cage, and then they measured how fast the rat was going towards the cheese, or they had a string on it, and measured the force at which the rats pulled, right? It's okay, they do it, the rats are pulling, right? And then they put, they ran the test again, and they put the smell of a cat behind the rat. And what do you know? The rats actually pulled stronger when they were not only motivated by the cheese, but also had the fear of the cat that was trying to kill them, right? So understand that when you have anti-vision combined with a vision, there is nothing that you won't be able to accomplish. And then fourth is that you need to master boredom. Understand that boredom is the training ground for focus. Boredom is that state of mind that gets you actually into a flow state of getting work done. The problem is that you allow boredom to become the trigger to get distracted. But when you switch that trigger, when you switch it to trigger work, again, you're going to be extremely focused. You'll be surprised at how much you get accomplished. So again, start with simply 5 minutes of stillness, 5 minutes of you just sitting and doing nothing, and you want to build towards being able to get 30 in, right? Because once you're able to sit in silence, sit in stillness, nothingness for 30 minutes, then you're not going to get distracted at all. You're not even going to have the urge to want to scroll. You're going to realize that literal life is a lot more stimulating than you would have imagined, right? And so you can use slow tasks, right? You can read, pen and paper, you can take a walk, right? Things like these where there's no simulation, so no music, no podcast, no YouTube, nothing. It's just you and your mind and your thoughts flowing. And this is essentially master boredom so that you can master focus. That mind wandering, and you're gonna get these creative insights because you'll begin to realize that the more you think, the more creative ideas that you have, the more you're able to think through the problems that you're going through. Boredom, silence, stillness is actually it's a superpower that again, we're so distracted, our attention spans are so low, we can't sit still for more than 5 seconds, right? But for the people those are the killers. Those are the people who constantly achieve their goals. Those are the people who understand that they actually can do anything that they put their mind to. Those are the people who are genuinely focused, right? And then deep work stops feeling painful. It stops becoming a struggle. It stops becoming a drag. It stops becoming something that you have to force yourself to do, and something that you willingly step into. It's something that you look forward to. You're like, yes, this is another chance I get to take a step closer to my goals. And step 5 is circuit breaker recovery, right? Because there's this kind of misconception going around that, hustle culture, I gotta work 12 hours a day. What is sleep? Never heard of it, right? Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to get into that grind, and then you're going to crash. And because you crash, you're going to beat yourself up, you're going to put yourself down, and then you are going to quit, right? Because again, hustle culture, it's a misconception, it's a myth, it's actually a mistake. What you should rather do is pre-schedule micro breaks throughout your day. Whether there's 5 minutes of reading, maybe you just want to 5 minutes go talk to a friend, talk to some family, right? But also macro resets as well. Using myself as an example, I usually like to read throughout the day, but for my macro resets, I like to take a walk. I like to go in nature. I like to think, I like to feel the breeze blowing against my skin, listen to the birds chirp, look at all the beautiful leaves going around. It really clears my mind. It allows me to think, allows me to reset so I can get back into my day and carry out the things that I need to, right? And then you want to also implement recovery blocks to prevent fall up before they start, right? The reason that these blocks exist is so that you don't burn out, right? You're allowing your brain to reset, you're allowing your body to reset, you're allowing things to just flow naturally so you can get back into your work session even stronger. You can get back into your focus even stronger. These escape scrolling sessions with restorative rituals, again, things like reading, walking, exercise, talking to people, and sitting in silence, right? These things that restore your battery in a way that allow you to carry out the rest of the day and actually end up winning the day. Because this rhythm, this work and rest, this action and recovery, this cycle is what's going to keep your momentum alive, rather than going full force and then burning out. Now you're cooked for the next week or two, and you might come back, but you might not, right? But ultimately, recovery builds consistency. It's not just going pedal to the metal, working all that you can, but you have to recover, you have to reset. And next is step 6. You need to realize that momentum is better than motivation, right? Because again, motivation is going to fluctuate. 1 day, 2 days, you might be, I'm ready to go. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get that done. I'm going to get that done. But again, how long are you going to be motivated? How long does your motivation last? 1 day? A few hours? 3 days at most, right? But are you going to be able to achieve your goals working 3 days out of the week? No. But you want to know what will? Momentum, right? Because momentum compounds. Motivation is, okay, I feel like it or do I not feel like it. Momentum is, did I do the action? Yes, okay, I can carry on. The next day, did I do the action? Yes, okay, I can carry on. If you do the action every single day for an entire month, you are going to make a significant amount of progress. So, which is why you need to establish 2 to 4 low friction non-negotiables daily. And this is fully dependent on whatever your goals are. Maybe you want to, get a focus block of homework and studying, or maybe you got to do some work on your business. Maybe this is your exercise, right? Whatever the case is, whatever your goal is, you want to establish 2 to 4 low friction non-negotiables that you can carry out every single day without fail. You need to adapt a never zero mindset, right? Because this is what's going to beat procrastination, even if you don't feel like it. As long as it's not zero, as long as you get up, you do it for a minute, you do it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, right? Well, then congratulations, that's consistency. You're going to be perfectionist, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done, because it's going to become perfect over time, over iteration. The more you do it, the better you get at it. That's actually how things become perfect. It doesn't become perfect by sitting and thinking, oh, I think it's that, I think it's that. You don't know what it is because you haven't done it yet. Simply do the action, do the work, get consistent, and then you'll have something to think about. And a pro tip is having a visual streak tracker, because if you're able to see the dots, if you're able to see the boxes that you've checked day after day, you're going to be a lot more motivated. You're going to be very focused, very efficient, right? You're going to be, actually proud of the progress that you've made, which is going to make you want to do it again. Because small wins are going to stack into an unstoppable flow, right? It's kind of like the snowball effect, right? At the top of the hill, it's very small, but you keep adding a little bit of snow, 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 and it's completely rolling down the hill. It's crushing all your goals. There's nothing that can stop you. It's a very beautiful thing to behold. And last, there is the identity loop, because understand that repeated action becomes belief, and belief itself reinforces that action, right? Because if you believe that you are somebody who gets the work done, you're going to get the work done, which is going to build evidence to that belief that you are somebody who gets the work done. So you want to log that daily evidence of disciplined behavior. Okay, what did I do? Okay, I woke up at 6, I got a run in, I did some focus work, I did some reading, I did a walk, right? You want to write those things down, and then when you look back, you're gonna see a long line of check boxes, right? You do it for a week, you see 7 days of consistency. You do it for a month, you see 30 days. You're like, wow, I can't believe I did that for 30 days. What that's going to do, it's going to implant the belief in your head that, wait a second, I am consistent. And since I am someone who's consistent, even if I don't feel like it, I'm going to get the work done. It's, again, you're building momentum. It's stacking on top of it. So logging that evidence is going to make you more disciplined. And then you want to shrink the gap, right? This is going to shrink the gap between the current and future self by taking that action now, right? When you have the mindset of the you that you want to be, the version of yourself that you're trying to become, when you have that person's mind, you're going to carry out the actions of that person, and then you're going to simply become that person, right? It's going to shrink that gap. And then weekly reflections as well, because this is going to lock the new identity in place, right? Not just looking at things day by day, but looking at them by the week, looking at them by the month, looking at them by the year. When you see that you've been consistent for over an entire year, there is no way you aren't going to believe and fully know that you are a consistent person. Essentially, discipline is going to become who you are, not what you do, not what you think you can do, not what you think you could become. It will simply be your reality. But you already knew all of that, didn't you? Right? You already understand that, right? You understand that your phone wasn't helping you. You already know that your schedule wasn't the problem, right? You know that the algorithms aren't going to change. They're not going to stop getting you hooked in more, right? You've read the book, you've watched the self-build videos, you have the reel saved on your phone. But what's the problem? Why hasn't anything changed? Well, brother, I hate to break it to you, but the problem is you. You are the problem, right? And ultimately, that is why I even made this video. This is for you if you find that you're somebody between the ages of 18 and 30 but are tired of falling off every single time that you start, right? Or if you're somebody who wants to control your focus without having to completely quit social media, right? Somebody like me, I couldn't quit social media. That's where I do my work, right? So I had to figure out a way to control it. This is for you if you're somebody who wants to follow a system instead of chasing hacks, instead of chasing, try this quick tip, try this secret method that nobody's told you about, right? Oh yeah, this is sure going to work, right? If you're somebody who wants a genuine system that accomplishes things and gets things done, or if you know discipline is possible, you just need a way to get it fully locked in. And ultimately, if you're done with letting distractions win and take control of your life. Now, this is not for you if you're somebody who's looking for a quick fix with zero effort. If you watch this far into the video and this is you, you might as well just leave. Like, this is not for you. I don't know why you just wasted your time, right? Or if you're somebody who wants motivation without changing your environment, goodbye, sayonara. If you aren't willing to trade cheap dopamine for long-term growth, then again, why in the world did you watch this far, right? Do you enjoy wasting your time? Do you enjoy not achieving your goals? Why are you here, right? If you think you can out hustle a broken system, well, good luck with that. I don't know what planet you come from. I don't know how your mind works, but that's, hey, I don't know what to tell you. And if you're more interested in consuming rather than conceding, rather than executing, I should say, well, sheesh, good luck, sir. If you have made it this far and you're not that person, right, then congratulations, you're in the top 1% that's actually willing to take the next step. The top 1% that understands, okay, I don't just need knowledge, I need action, I need iteration, I need to get out and do something, right? And ultimately, I've explained numerous concepts, a bunch of different things throughout this video, but no one-stop solution, which ultimately leads me to the final and the most important parts of this video, is systems plus community, right? This, the system is going to get you consistent, but the community is what's going to lock it into place. It's what's going to keep you coming back. It's what's going to give you the motivation, the accountability to actually keep carrying out the things that you need to in order to make progress, in order to ultimately achieve your goals. And so here's the real system. Again, your systems automate the focus, community will lock it in, and that's what makes this solution permanent, which leads me to the frictionless focus OS. Now, this is a 7-video course that is going to reset your brain in 7 days. But understand that this is also in beta as well. So for those who do end up joining, not only do you get the course, but you get to help me build it out as it progresses. You get to input exactly what you want. Maybe you want this concept. Maybe you want me to talk about that. You get to build the course exactly in a way that is going to be most effective for you to achieve your goals. Then there's the dopamine reset toolkit plus swap rituals that you can implement. There's the anti-vision framework so that you can actually weaponize your fear and use it to your advantage. Circuit breaker drills to end burnout. So again, that you're not burning out, that you're not, going in strong just to ultimately fall off and fail. And then there's a private community with bi-weekly calls as well. Private school community. There's forums. You can talk to your other people on the path to discipline. You can ask questions. I frequently upload Loom videos explaining different things, right? It's very effective in having that accountability, having that sense of brotherhood that is going to help you on this journey of focus. And understand that I could just be talking, I could just be talking right now. There's like, how do you know I'm actually telling the truth? Well, I proved it myself, right? Here is Martin, right, who was able to even get his first $1,500 client because he was able to implement the systems in this video. Or Amir, who ended up working with me, who was able to grow his personal brand because he actually got a focus to over 13,000 followers. And then there's Andre, who I worked with recently, right? He was unfocused. I gave him some advice, I gave him some tips. He was able to go from making like maybe 100 if he was lucky to now $200 to $600 every single day. And then there's Arn. He was somebody who was unfocused, who was struggling to stay consistent in running his agency, and he was able to cut his screen time in half and make consistent progress and actually get the work done after implementing the system. And it wasn't just them. The proof is in the pudding. I've helped countless people with this very system, the very system that I'm talking about right now. And so here's the offer, right? Essentially, this is a 7-video course that is going to reset your brain in 7 days. And again, there's the beta bonus as well. The dopamine reset toolkit, swap rituals, right? We've covered all of this. And now there's the decision that you have to make. You can either keep running the same loops or you can install new ones. And understand, discipline does not have to be hard. It just has to be designed. You need a design, you need a system, you need the accountability to bring everything into place and ultimately get where you're trying to get in life. So if you're watching this on YouTube, click the first link in the description. And if you're on my website, then click the button below and finally take control of your focus. I'll see you on the inside. Peace.